We're going to talk about hydrochloric acid, right? That's a digestive support. Can that actually help reduce microbial imbalance in the intestinal tract, in the stomach, and the small intestine and colon? Really excited to dive into that topic. Before we do, please smash that like button. Really important. Get the word out. Also, please put your comments down below. If you have any experience with this topic or any feedback, please love to hear it down below. So hydrochloric acid, right? This is an acid, right? Hydrogen chloride molecule, very important for stimulating digestion. So hydrochloric acid lowers the pH in the stomach. That low pH helps activate a lot of gastric juices and digestive enzymes such as pepsinogen to pepsin. It really helps provide a good antimicrobial environment. Now, most people don't talk about this. People think, oh, hydrochloric acid, that's really important for digestion. I need that to help digestion. And of course, people also associate too much acidity with digestive inflammation, which may be true at some level. So first off, hydrochloric acid, very responsible for lowering that intestinal pH, that all that mixed up food moves to the small intestine. That food, that nice pH then triggers the pancreas to make enzymes, proteolytic and lipolytic, right? Protease and lipase. It triggers the gallbladder to make a whole bunch of bile salts with help with fat digestion. We also have this increase in bicarbonate, which then raise the pH back up. What most people don't understand is that hydrochloric acid has antimicrobial activation, really important. So when you are chronically stressed, you are not going to make enough acid, thus not enough enzyme, and probably not enough bile support, because hydrochloric acid is that first domino to help with digestion. So people forget about this, but proton pump inhibitors, this is one study looking at proton pump inhibitors and dysbiosis, because we know proton pump inhibitors, this is like omeprazole or Prilosec, these lower our stomach acid levels, because essentially a proton pump inhibitor would be, it takes hydrogen and it prevents it from getting released back to the stomach, right? Hydrogen's a proton, so it inhibits that release back up. So then the hydrogen can't bind to chloride in the stomach and make HCl. So it prevents that from being released. That lowers stomach acid. And we know proton pump inhibitors, the more you take it, the longer you take it, it actually increases dysbiosis, right? So we see here, PPIs are generally tolerated, but long-term reduction of gastric acid secretion can increase the risk and imbalance in gut microbiota, i.e. dysbiosis, right? It can cause more bad guys in the gut than good guys. This is important. This is how SIBO and generalized dysbiosis happen. So when I kind of look at SIBO, the big umbrella is dysbiosis, okay? That's like an imbalance in the bacteria in the gut, more bad than good. And then you have little micro umbrellas within that category. You have SIBO, which is a generalized dysbiosis. You have SIFO, or a fungal overgrowth, which essentially is an overgrowth in fungus, right? And so these are kind of under that big umbrella. So we just refer to everything as a dysbiosis, and there's different, unique umbrellas within that. Now, a couple of things I want to highlight here. This looks at the bacteria changes. So this is kind of your normal microbiota, right? So you can see strep and different bacteria in the oral cavity. You see the esophagus, different bacteria. Now, when you start taking proton pump inhibitors, right, think of this as you're raising the pH of your stomach. You're lowering your stomach acid levels now, right? So less acidity. So you're going to start to see changes in the bacteria. So you're going to see more strep in the stomach. So more strep overgrowth in the stomach. You're going to see more strep, staph, enterobacter, even some lactobacilli, clostridia, all in the small intestine. You're going to decrease your bifidobacter, right? So lactobacilli typically goes up more. It should be higher in the colon, I think, not higher in the small intestine. You're going to see a decrease in bifidobacter in the small intestine. And then in the colon, you're going to see an increase in lactobacilli, enterobacter, and then a couple other bacteria down here. So you can see there starts to be a shift in the microbiome when there's less acidity. That's really important. And with people that have SIBO, a lot of times people that have SIBO and bacterial overgrowth, they can be sensitive to probiotics. Part of it is because the bad bacteria can feed on it because it's fermentable, and two, it can throw off some of the microbiome already. So that's really, really interesting out of the gate. And so, you can see here the different bacteria that are going to be produced. Strep's a big one. You can see Prevolobacter and Campylobacter. These are really common dysbiotic bacteria that will start to go out of balance. And you can see gut dysbiosis also occurs as a result of H. pylori, which is a pro-inflammatory that affects the lumen and microenvironments in gastric microbiota. So H. pylori is also a big one here, really important. And then it talks about the small intestine and the different bacteria that happen here. Another one here, this is really interesting. So it talks about gastric acidity, H. pylori, and other bacteria. So the gastric juice represents a barrier to microbes in the saliva and ingested food, mostly due to the degenerative activity of hydrochloric acid. So the hydrochloric acid actually helps break down some of the microbes. If bactericidal activity is weakened by an elevation in gastric pH, so elevation in pH means less stomach acid, right? Because stomach acid's a low pH, 2 or 3. So if we raise that pH, don't get fooled by the elevation. That means low stomach acid. Microbes will be allowed to survive in the stomach. So what this is saying is microbes will be able to survive in the stomach when hydrochloric acid levels go down. So it reported that 80% of healthy subjects between 80 to 90 showed hypochlorhydria. That's low stomach acid, pH of 6.5 or so. Remember, pH should be around 1.5 to 2.5 or so, right? And so that's really important. The strong association between diminished gastric acid secretions and the presence of opportunistic enteropathogens was clearly observed in AIDS patients. Obviously, that's an extreme, right? There's definitely a spectrum there, but the more stressed you are, the more chronically ill you are going to see less stomach acid. Less stomach acid is going to increase the ability for microbes to grow and start to become out of balance, which then creates brain fog. You can start to have gases produced by these microbes like methane and hydrogen and even ammonia, which can start to cause more brain fog, more energy issues. It can cause motility issues with hydrogen, diarrhea, with methane, constipation. Obviously, it can affect absorption. It can start to create leaky gut and gut permeability, which then can create more autoimmune issues as well. So really important, just kind of wanted to highlight it. People say, well, how did my gut issues start, right? How did I start to have all these gut issues? Well, first off, antibiotics can create a massive imbalance because it wipes a lot of things out and weeds grow back automatically, i.e. bad bugs. So that can be a big mechanism. Too much refined carbohydrate, sugar, grains, those kind of things. Number 3, chronic stress. And people say, oh, stress. Well, what does that mean? Well, obviously we have the common emotional stressors, right, that we deal with in our life. But what does that do? That activates our fight or flight nervous system, i.e. the adrenals, cortisol, adrenaline. Those are the big fight or flight hormones, right? Adrenaline's the big one, but cortisol comes right after that. That starts to activate the sympathetic nervous system. That lowers our stomach acid, right? So when our stomach acid gets lower, pH goes up, and that starts to make the stomach and the intestinal environment prone to bacterial overgrowth. So one of the big mechanisms is chronic stress, which then affects digestion, HCL, obviously the sympathetic nervous system. Less hydrochloric acid, pH goes up. And then we also are going to have less enzymes, and we're also going to have less bile salts. And then we create a feeding ground where the microbial imbalances in the gut can start to widen and get worse and worse and worse with the different bugs that we mentioned: strep, Prevotella, staph, Morganella, Pseudomonas, Klebsiella, Citrobacter. These are all bacteria that start to overgrow and can become problematic. So the problem is, what are you going to do about it? So of course, adding in hydrochloric acid, enzymes, digestive support. In my line, and kind of how we deal with things is we're following the 6 R's, right? In my clinic, I'm dealing with removing the bad foods. We're getting the food and the diet dialed in. The second hour, replacing enzymes, acids, maybe bile support if necessary. We're doing common things like getting the nervous system calmed down through diet, lifestyle strategies, good sleep, supporting the adrenals, supporting the HPA axis. That comes more in the third R. We work on repairing the gut lining and the hormones. That calms down the sympathetic nervous system and allows more parasympathetic response, which helps aid in digestion, right? The sympathetic nervous system shuts down gastric acid secretions. Fourth R, then we work on removing the bugs. So if you come in there and you just start dropping bombs, that can actually create more stress and intensify the problem. So we always have the fourth R exactly where it is, the fourth place. Most people put that first, and it's the biggest mistake possible. Fifth R, we work on repopulating, reinoculating good bacteria, because that's where the best time to add that in, because you can have people that are very sensitive to probiotics. If you add that in too soon, that can cause a lot of problems. And then, of course, fifth R, repopulate, reinoculate good bacteria, probiotics. And then 6R, we retest to ensure everything is addressed and fixed, and there's no new bugs present. And then, of course, there's always the spouse that could pass things back and forth in kids. So we always want to make sure those variables are addressed. So I hope that makes sense. Trying to get to the root cause, trying to give everyone a big kind of picture on things. So it's always good to understand, based on your history, how things could unfold and how you could be in this position. That way we can go back and make sure we're applying corrective actions to fix everything. I hope that makes sense. Again, this is Dr. J here. If you want to reach out to myself and my colleagues, we're available for functional medicine support worldwide. There'll be links down below where you can reach out. If you enjoy it, put your comments below. Give me a thumbs up, like, share with friends or family. That'd be awesome. And again, we'll put some recommended products that we use kind of out of the gates with patients and testing. We'll put it in the links down below so you guys can take a look at it. All right, very good. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. You have a phenomenal day. Take care, y'all. Bye now.